So I want to start with the first question about the end of IR theory discussions. Like some political scientists wrote some articles like the end of IR theory, or Walter Mearsheimer wrote an article about simplistic hypothesis testing, where they were kind of criticizing the lack of new IR theory articles. It was kind of 7-8 years ago, and they were kind of arguing the era of IR theory seems to have ended for now. So what do you think about this? What is the current situation of IR theory literature?
Well, I think the end of IR theory is similar to the end of history, something which was announced and certainly didn't happen. So the end of IR theory, it depends what you mean by that. It's certainly true that there was a period at some point in the 1990s where many people in the international relations field, especially younger people, had gotten tired of the debates among the paradigms, realism, liberalism, constructivism. We're getting to be tired old debates where people had set positions, where their arguments were very predictable. And it was a period of time where the younger people, in terms of the topics that they were interested in, were very nuts and bolts, pragmatic, action-oriented topics like genocide or civil wars in developing countries. These were problem-driven research agendas rather than research agendas that were motivated by the biggest picture questions of the nature of international politics at the level of the global system. And so in answering the question of what causes genocide and how can we prevent it, or what can we do to limit the damage caused by civil wars and why do they occur, people were interested in using any bit of theory or methods that they could use to extract hypotheses, test them, and come up with answers that were actionable in policy. And that was, I think, a healthy move for the discipline. It's always good to reconnect with the nitty-gritty of the real world rather than to spend all of our time, in the cloud castles in the sky of abstract. However, I think that international relations theory has definitely come back into political discourse, not only in academic political science, but also in the real world. And so what are the two of the biggest topics that people are talking about right now? One of them is the decline of American power and the rise of the power of China, and whether the cooperative system of international institutions that was supported by American power is going to unravel now that America's power to back those liberal institutions is nowhere near as strong as it had been in the past. And so this is a topic that is central to realism. It's the oldest realist question that there is. It's Thucydides writing about the origins of the Peloponnesian Wars. which Thucydides tells us was caused by the rising power of Athens and the fear that it engendered in Sparta. The Thucydides trap of Graham Allison about the analogous problem today between the US and China is, one of the most hotly debated questions in our field. And it's also a hotly debated question in the real world of politics and policy. Okay, what's one of the other biggest questions in the real world and in the academy? It's the crisis of democracy within the US, within Europe, as well as the turbulent democratic politics in developing countries, such as what you might call the crisis of democracy in India, or even the challenges to democracy in, dare we say it, Turkey. And so this is and one of the questions is the international effects of the crisis of democratic politics in these countries. What will happen to the democratic peace, the absence of war between democracies in the age when there's rising nationalist populism in many of the world's democratic countries. So there you have it. Power politics of realism, liberal domestic politics of the liberal paradigm. These are the oldest topics that the field of international relations has been dealing with, going back decades, if not centuries. And here they are. They're back on our agenda. So those boring, tired paradigm debates that people were sick of back in the 1990s, life itself has put them onto our research agenda once again. So IR theory is not dead. There are old forms of IR theory that are still very much relevant, but there's also a need for new forms of IR theory to think about the changing world that we're in.